¿Qué pasa, gente? Bienvenido a Lucha Talk. I'm your host, Dylan Fox. This is episode 161 of our show. And joining me now to talk Lucha Talk once again, just like every month, to my virtual right, Microman Fever. You have returned once again. I'm so glad you're here.
Yes, I'm back, and I couldn't get enough from last time. Now we have CMLL to talk about.
I think this episode will be a lot different than last time.
Oh, well, very event show we have for everyone now.
It was a good show, and there's nothing else to say about it. Good night, everybody. No, we actually do have a lot to talk about on this episode, because it's a big episode. Is CMLL Aniversario, the 90th year of CMLL, the oldest promotion in the world, whether it's in America, England, Japan, Argentina, anywhere where there's been lots of wrestling. CMLL has outlasted them all. They outlasted the pandemic. A lot of people thought they wouldn't make it this far back then when it came in. But 90 years of CMLL. How excited were you for this? What was your hype level for this show? We talked about it a little bit on the last episode. You wanted to go originally, but you saw the card and you said, hell no. And now you are here to watch it. You are here to watch it at your home.
Yeah.
Were you feeling better about it or worse?
Yeah, I was making a plan to go make the trip and go in Arena Mexico and experience the show firsthand for myself. It's one of those things I've always wanted to do. You know, having Dragon Rojo Jr. versus Templario as the mask match. That was kind of disappointing. The other card, kind of disappointing when I saw everything come out about it. But I knew it was going to be a great show because these guys and the women, they really set out their best on these shows every year. The talent there, they let it all out on the big shows. So I knew this was going to be great, and I don't think it disappointed.
Now, the one thing I'll say is this. Didn't they say, when we previewed the show, they had listed the hair stuff as the main event and not the mask match? But then they changed it on this show.
I don't think that was the case. I think it was always the mask match as the main event.
And they changed the opener around too, so I felt like there was some shuffling on this card.
Okay. Well, maybe like you saw something I didn't. I don't know.
I don't want to make proclamations. I'm just saying where we were at from the preview. Like you said, maybe it was listed wrong. 90 years of CMLL was celebrated on this show. They played a video of all kinds of classic moments and people who wrestled the CMLL over these 9 decades they've been around, pretty much. And then, that's one thing worth mentioning too. The attendance is listed as 6,087 on Cage Match right now for this. They did put this on here, which is interesting, because this crowd was super hot. And it felt like this was like a full arena from the look of it. So I don't know who's got the numbers, what's legit or whatever, but this crowd, I mean, they were into everything on this show.
I mean, that's classic Cage Match, getting the numbers.
They fudged the numbers
again.
Oh no! Like I said, they may have fudged the numbers, but CMLL, they did not lie about their attendance. At least at worst, it's underrated. It's not like they had one number and then a week later a lower number came out. You know.
Oh yeah.
They don't do that in this Arena Mexico.
No, they have values in CMLL.
Oh, of course. CMLL is the one promotion that, they're always known as the stable, serious promotion. And they live by those words, and that means they would never lie to the fans or the luchadors or even the families of the luchadors. They would never do that. Or even their own families, people getting ran out of the company who were part of the family. They would never do that. But on this show, we had a special show with 8 matches, even though it was kind of more like 7. If you combine the one or the other. They added the bonus match, which we didn't talk about, the Copa Independencia Final, which is like Independence Day tournament. Because the reason it was on Saturday instead of Friday is because it was the Independence Day in Mexico. And they were like, okay, we're going to move it to Saturday because everybody's partying and being a patriotic people. So they moved it to Saturday, and they decided, no, we will not start off with the New Japan and CMLL show, or match. Mystico will not open it. Samurai del Sol, he will not open it. Instead, they went to the World Women's Tag Team titles, a very prestigious brand new title that they've introduced here. It was Haruchita and Juvia versus Zuxis and Stephanie Vaquer. And I thought this was a really strong opener, personally. The fans were really into this. You could actually hear them, like, really, like, rallying behind all four women, like, just for the efforts they were putting in. Obviously, Stephanie is, like, at a totally different level right now. She's had a great year. She got international publicity with the match versus Mercedes Moné. She's had her ups and downs since she's returned to CMLL, but she was at her top peak here, top form. Harachita is one of their best women's wrestlers, in my opinion, and she showed it here. I thought she did a great job in this match, really working through it. And then, Juvia, she is certainly a woman who wrestles and is a luchadora for sure. And she was here in this match. But they had some good back and forth here and there. They did a spot early on where it was like they were trying to do really flash pins back and forth. Then Zushis and Stephanie were kind of rallying behind the fans, hit their double knee smashes into the quarters. They did there too. And they wanted to do their big double team finisher, but it didn't work. They had one last rally for Harachita, but instead they hit the package pile driver for Zushis to get the win. I thought this was a really good match, honestly. I was pleasantly surprised. What do you think?
Yeah, very good. And they debuted, the women's tag team titles, and I'm not sure that they really needed to bring them in, especially at this moment when they don't have that many established teams of women. They hardly use all of the other women. They usually just book these four mainly on every show.
Yeah.
So maybe that's like the build to this, but they're just the same people having the same match. I don't really get why you would introduce belts.
Weren't they both champions?
This.
Like they both had their own tag team titles before this? Like, the Occidente titles, like Zushi and Stephanie had, yeah.
Yes, they were, yeah.
Yeah, so they're just changing champions to introduce new belts that they were already champions.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happened here, and, that's just, CML bringing in more belts into the equation. I think they should focus on other women too. That really stands out, but...
Who do you think they should focus on more?
I think Reina Isis, definitely.
Yeah, she just had a big push like 2 months ago.
Yeah, you gotta keep her in people's minds and not just these four women. And beyond that, it's up to anyone's guess, really, because, there's not a lot to choose from in CMLL when it comes to women, but, there's some of them are trying to establish themselves and, like Valiente's daughters, but they're just starting out too, so you can't, get them up there so quickly and expect them to deliver like these other women.
What about Marcella and
I like that team. I like the idea of like these old, rivals come together and now forming a team. I think they work really well with any of these two teams. So that's
where's the Vispa Dorada?
I don't know. She could be
knows.
back in the U.S. by now.
Probably.
Yeah.
Metallica?
Well, come on now.
Let's not go crazy.
Yeah.
Still with the left.
The women here have set a certain standard, and I don't think they can, go below that now. So, maybe that means to bring in more foreigners. That's a possibility. As you know, the women's Grand Prix is coming up.
Yeah.
Should happen in October sometime. But at least we'll know it should happen before the end of the year. So, that's something to look forward to later on. Women's match here, very good. Strong opener.
Do you remember who the team was for last year's Grand Prix for international team?
No. Do you have the list?
I do. Here are some of our options. Stephanie Vaquero, Vispa Dorada, Eva Lise was on the team last year.
Eva Lise. I liked her a lot when she came in.
Yeah, she actually did really good when she was in. Lady Frost, She stood out a lot in
Yeah.
that match. Alex Gracia, Hikari Shimizu, Mei Saruga, and Tai Honma, who's like came over like 5 times for this. Fabi was in last year, so she hasn't got fired yet.
Yeah,
for the Mexican team. Yeah.
I mean, that was a great event, I thought.
Yeah, it was. Like, all of them have been good. Like, all of the women's Grand Prix.
Yeah, CML has really delivered, even with what little they have, they made it count.
Yeah. Last year's Mexican team, the first 2 are both fired. Dalis and Fabi Apache, both gone. Then you have Amapola, Haruchita, Juvia, Marcela, Suhei, and Reina Isis. All of the people we just said, pretty much. And Suhei, who has been injured.
Yep. Out with injury.
And now they could replace them. Well, you think Zushis would be on the world team now to team with Stephanie. I don't know. The thing is, a lot of their people they bring in are kind of random. Sometimes just like whoever wants to go. They can bring back Momo Kogo. They had her there that one year.
Yeah. Do you think that's a possibility, now to work at the Stardom?
Yeah, why not? She's got nothing going on. They work with New Japan, so they own the same company, so would that mess up the... Where did Silhouette go in Japan?
I have no idea where she ended up.
She disappeared.
Maybe she went to Gleet.
No, of course. The top promotion in Japan. Well, she's wrestled, it says, in Secret Base, Ice Ribbon, Seedling, and Wave. So basically all the indie companies.
Yeah.
She's just wrestled
in everywhere.
I think they'll risk it. I think they could risk Silhouette and to work with Stardom and bring in some of their talents.
They could just say, Silhouette went on our own, like, as a tourist.
They didn't approve this. Remember when they said something like Mystico was on there? They were like, he is a freelance talent, not a CML employee. Or something like that. But regardless, we'll see what happens next month. The next match on the card, but like you said, it was a great match, honestly. Like, very good fall. The tag titles, we don't know, but it makes no sense. More titles are not what this company needs at all, but that's what we're getting. They brought in this is another thing they did throughout the show. They did this multiple times where they brought in, like, the governor or congressman or whoever these people were.
Yes. The ambassador.
Yeah.
From the U.S. Embassy.
Yeah, they did that, but first they did it with the Japanese guy.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know what this was all about, trying to make their show seem international, I guess. But they brought in some Japanese ambassador, like you said, I guess. And I don't know who this was or what his role was, but we can presume it had something to do with Mexican relations, so good for him. And what a match he was treated to in his honor, the next match. Esfinge versus Rugido. I mean, listen, this is what Lucha Libre is all about when you think about it. Nobody screams a top-tier luchador more than Esfinge. Many people have said he should be signed by AEW in the near future. And I think he's earned it with this performance in this match.
I mean, I'm for that.
Seems like a great idea for all involved. It was alright. Like, it wasn't a bad match.
The crowd didn't think so.
Yeah. Well, what do you do if you're Esfinge? What do you do to get this crowd?
Well, it wasn't posing.
But that's all he knows how to do, though.
That didn't work.
That's his only option, though.
Well, yeah, I mean, he can't win them over with his muscles like he has with the other people.
He definitely didn't win them over with his wrestling.
No, that didn't work.
Be a bad idea to even admit that.
Yeah, that's why they were booing. Yeah, I mean, this match, I think most fans were like, saw the match to set this up, the Copa final.
Yeah.
They're like, all these possibilities of who could be in the match.
Yeah.
Like, they had Villanos, Hijo de Villano 3, they had Sandokan, I think. They had, other guys, more interesting guys at the moment. Coyote. So, and then you end up with Esfinge and Rugido. Not really what you wanted here. These guys are just like the top dogs in Tuesday nights, and
yeah. What a title to give someone.
It's supposed to be like a step up for them, since the first winner of the cup was Angel del Oro last year, and he beat Mystico and Volador.
Yeah.
And that actually kind of set up the the hair match here, but they backed off before they got to it again. But here with Sting and Rito, yeah, the crowd ate them up, and they weren't into this one, and neither was I.
I guess I'll be the nice guy out here by saying it was completely average. I think Rito's not that bad, honestly. Like I think he's all right. Listen, would you rather? I
was watching this match and I was like, this match could have happened 10 years ago and nobody would know the difference because
you're right.
These guys just they look exactly like the same from those guys, and like nothing changed. The style of match, the outfits, the costumes, their gimmicks, their looks. It's just like screams 10 years ago, and I think we've gone past that.
Who would you rather have, Rujito or Espanto Jr.?
Oh, that's like, you pick the worst guy
yes.
that they have.
Okay, what about him or Crixus?
Oh, the Crixus guy, the body guy from Guadalajara.
Yeah.
I think he's more interesting because, at least like the women react positively towards him.
They had a lot of like the Guadalajara guys in that. Like you were talking about Zondokan, Furia Roja was in one of those matches.
Yeah. Hey, I think they should have gone, one of those younger guys, but if these guys are, they're trying to give them a boost, but it backfired.
It's a stupid idea to do this on Aniversario, to be honest. All right, how about this? Esfinge or Blue Panther Jr.?
Definitely Blue Panther Jr. Like, I think just having the mask, like, helps a lot, especially with this crowd, because...
Oh, it's totally true. Like, you're totally right about that, actually.
I think this crowd is... I don't think they're like up to date like every show. I think they just turn up for like big shows, and majority of them do anyways. I think
that would have been a great idea. Because Dark Panther was in the other match. Like, so it could have been Black Panther versus Blue Panther Jr. in the final.
Yes, but that's one of the rules in CMLL.
No family.
No family versus family matches.
It would have gotten over though. I like this. They need to break the rules. Sometimes. Listen, if the options are Esfinge and Rujito and breaking the rules, I think we can break the rules.
Yeah, I think that's why Beyond3 Jr. wasn't involved in the qualifier.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like I said, it was alright to me. I do like, one of the reviews on Cage Match was like their addition to this was, I like the Nudo Ijipiko. It's a Cradle-kind special, which is definitely what I call that move as well. It has a pose involved in it as well. His Egyptian pose that he does, I guess. Like you said, he's been doing that for 10 years. The exact same thing. Everything you said was correct. We move on. No, because at first they did bring out the U.S. guy. The U.S. ambassador to Mexico, I have no idea who this was there, and the crowd just hated this guy so much. That was hilarious. And Esfinge was there too. Like, they had him with the U.S. guy, so that probably didn't help either.
Oh no. All of them got buried by the crowd. It was so bad. Like, they just heard United States and they're like, boo.
Yeah, they hated this. But what about how their plan was? They were prepared for this though, Micro. They knew that this could get a negative reaction, so they brought out the big guns. And by the big guns, I mean the big balls, which they threw into the crowd for them to pass around. And suddenly you see all these balls, like, flying into the crowd. Great idea. It got over. They tossed them around. It gave them enough time to prepare for the next match, which was our Legends match here. Atlantis, Blue Panther, and Octagon, they took on Fuerza Guerrera, Satanico, and Virus. Satanico's had quite a run this year since that Legend show they did in June. And now, or not the Legend show, he was actually on the New Japan show, right? Fantastic. Yeah, Mexico. Yeah, see?
His anniversary.
And he's continuing his run here. Everybody came out with, like, their old mask and stuff. Like, Blue Panther had his mask on. Virus had one of his mask on with the pirate stuff. Satanico came out. It was good. Like, it was kind of a cool little entrance they did there. I thought the crowd was into this well enough, but it didn't enamor me, to be honest, as a match. What did you think?
Yeah, I think this crowd just hasn't seen, like, enough of these matches. And
they
so
never should.
It's still fresh to them, so they're gonna react positively towards this. But I've seen enough from
all of these people.
In this type of match, especially, the Legends match. It doesn't really get to me. Yes, I appreciate them, and what they do and what they've done, but, I'm not into this, type of match anymore, or, in the future.
These guys are some of my favorites ever.
Yeah.
Like Blue Panther, Virus, like Atlantis, legendary Satanico back in the 80s and 90s. Like so many legendary moments and matches. Like I watched, those Satanico and El Dandy matches, in the past. I saw when Blue Panther and Atlantis had amazing match of the year level matches back in the day. Virus, he still is one of the best wrestlers they have. But like you said, it's just this style of match. If they built like a major match around one of these guys and maybe a younger guy, especially if it's Virus, you can really get something fantastic out of it. But even with Blue Panther, Atlantis, I think you could do some good things. And I think the thing with Octagon and Fuerza, they've been teasing the same thing for a million years, and it never ends. Like, who cares about this at this point?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like the type of crowd that they draw to this show.
Yeah, you're true.
And that's what they're going to be into. And they really just played into it. Octagon, all he did was arm drags.
Yeah.
And Satanico, everyone's just doing trademark spots, and that really got on the crowd side.
I thought Panther and Virus in the last fall, they turned it up to like something kind of good. But that's about as nice as I can be about it. But, I mean, it did get over. Then we had more USA involvement in this, not with the congressman or the ambassador or whatever. Instead, we had the two men who truly represent American wrestling most, I would argue. Lince Dorado and Samurai del Sol, they teamed together to take on Soberano Jr. and Titan. And once again, the crowd went crazy for this match, hating on the Americans pretty much here. It wasn't as bad as the ambassador, I will say. When this match ended and they won, the crowd was pissed, pretty much. So I did like that. That was the moment of the match to me.
Man, I think the Legends match took it out of me because I didn't really have any interest in this one.
There's no point to it, really.
Yeah, I see that. Like, these guys come in. It's like, they really did. Soberano wasn't even in the Grand Prix, but he's in this match with all these Grand Prix opponents. I don't know. Even like the style of match, I don't know if it really fit the event. These guys just brought in for this. I think they could have done something else that was more interesting, because there's like a lot of fan favorites that were left off on this show. And I thought, they could have had a spot maybe in this match.
And you spend months setting up this Infernales deal, and you just totally ignored it for like goofy matches like this that have no meaning.
It wasn't totally ignored because Eugene Overno, they have the deep history there.
Yeah, you're right.
And I guess Hechicero just really got like
screwed again.
Yeah, screwed out of a big match.
And Mephisto, all of them. What about the idea that Metalik was going to be on the American team? They're going to reform Lucha House Party, a group that nobody remembers or cares about.
Yeah, I mean, like, especially in Mexico, like, who even, like, followed that show, for that reason?
Are you telling me 205 Live didn't have a huge Mexican audience?
If that was the intention, I think they failed in their plan. Because I don't think anyone remembered, but, only like, maybe like 5 fans probably knew.
Yes.
That existed, but, yeah, I think that was the plan, yeah. Have Metalik and do the trios match here.
Who would have been the third with Titan and Soberano?
Who knows? Maybe.
Star Jr.
But yeah, no reason here. Especially with the result. Like what was that?
Yeah, and like I said, the fans hated it, and rightfully so. It makes no sense. What are you gonna do with these guys? I mean, listen, I like Lince Dorado. I think he's a good wrestler. I thought he did some good things with Soberano in this match, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But where is this going to go? Like for the anniversary show, you can have guys, even if you don't want to do Hechicero and Mephisto or whatever, you could have young guys in the show that this spot would mean something to, just being on the show. You know, in the past 7-8 years ago, the way it meant something to young Hechicero and Dragon Lee when they were on the opening match on there. You know, you had the Panthers on there. It would at least mean something to them and get the fans into it a little bit more. The Americans, I don't know. I don't know where you go with these guys at the end of the day. Are they coming back for more?
It seemed like it, yeah.
Do you think that Samurai del Sol...
I mean, he has to, right?
I mean, he has to.
Yeah, he's gonna sue him, or he's gonna get one of his bodyguards to shoot him or something.
Wasn't that Flamita that happened to? Maybe they need to bring him in. He's a GLEAT.
I would be for it, but you know,
I'd rather see him than Samurai del Sol, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
he hasn't looked very good in any of his appearances, to be honest.
I mean, CML's like the hot place right now. And when they were the hot place, that's when they really attracted like a bunch of indie guys and come in and be part of that. But I think right now everyone can just do their own thing on their own, and just too easy to do that instead of be part of a company and do everything by their rules.
And I guess Samurai del Sol, he's going to play by the rules, and therefore he's going to get brought back.
Who knows?
To do what? I don't know.
I think this way he'd get more attention than he would like doing any U.S. show. I mean, there's hardly like any.
Yeah, we saw how he had years to do that, and we saw how that. I mean, no offense to him, but it's not like I'm a hater.
Yeah, you know, this is the biggest stage he'll have.
Yeah, for him it's fine. I just don't know why they want him. Is my problem. Is my question here. You know, I have no problem with him. I just think that they should bring in other people, or more accurately, use the 50 guys that probably could have used a spot like this on here.
Yeah, I don't think they have a lot to gain from this.
Yeah, I agree. But Soberano and Titan should have won for sure. I would argue those are two guys. They should be main event players for them. They're two of their absolute best guys, but for some reason they took the fall. And it was a fine match. Again, it wasn't anything bad. I wasn't that into it. Personally, until the finish, which was amusing to me that they actually won and the crowd got pissed, which I think we could all take some joy in. Then we had another outsider type of match. You had Kevin Knight, Rocky Romero, and TJP. They teamed up to take on Atlantis Jr., Mascara Dorada, and Mystico. Rocky Romero has been a great for CMLL. Like, he's having fun. They're getting great. They're using him perfectly to do stuff. I think he's like absolutely perfect at his role. And they teased more with him and Mystico, which I think is a great thing because we had the feud with him and Volador, and to transition that, everybody was shocked that Rocky was able to come out on top against Volador. To transition that against Mystico, I think is actually a really good idea. And I mean, this crowd was like losing their minds at Mystico here on this show. He came across like the top star on this show, like by far and away to this point. And him and Rocky, that arena was going nuts.
Yeah, it was, and you know, before Rocky got the Mystico, there was a brief moment where he was with Mascara Dorada, and that just, you know, just went straight to Mystico after that. I thought they were gonna do something there. For me, that's more exciting, but I think most fans are gonna react more to Rocky and Mystico. And Mystico, I think CMLL just really wanted to give him something to do that he felt was important, because there were even rumors that Mystico was going to leave, because they weren't really doing anything with him, for the amount of reaction he was getting and attention he gets being here in CMLL. They finally, gave him something to do here with Rocky, and I think they're really like riding Mystico hard now as one of the top guys.
And I think they should. Like, he's always one of the most over guys. He had a great run of matches earlier in the year as well. Like, you know, he's a guy that could really get the most out of the least, but he's still got some tricks up his sleeve too.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, like I like, honestly, and I think that he's a great, like, perfect technico for his role. And Rocky's like the perfect Rudo. Like, the fans actually hate him for real.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I think he's got legit heat with the crowd. And it's really hard to do that in Arena Mexico, where a lot of these guys, we were talking about it earlier, a lot of these fans aren't exactly the hardcore fans following, you know, Puebla or anything like that. They're there to see Lucha Libre and not really think about it too hard. But still, with Rocky, he's able to get the most out of them. So I'm a big fan of what they're doing with that. I definitely agree, though, that Dorada, that guy, just one of the best wrestlers, like one of the best luchadors that they have. I hope that they have more planned for him, and I think they do. Pairing him here with Mystico and these guys, I think they're great workers. And they did some good stuff. TJ Perkins is a really strong wrestler as well in the ring. He's not like a fantastic personality or anything like that, but I really love watching him wrestle. I think he's a really talented guy in the ring. So I thought this was a good match, and it accomplished everything it needed to. And you put over the young guys too, as well here. Just again, like these two guys should be people that you put in big matches like this, Atlantis Jr. and Mascara Dorada. So I thought this was a win all around. It wasn't a match of the year, but I enjoyed watching it. Like if that is the plan overall, but they kind of swerved it or took a left turn to where, they were mixing people around and suddenly, because Rocky and Volador were the main feud for a while, that it looked like that might turn into something, but instead they pivoted towards Angel de Oro and Volador, which came to pass in this match we're about to talk about. But you have room for Rocky in a big main event, in my opinion. Get the most out of him and blow him off before he leaves. I think it's a great idea. But I definitely share your enthusiasm for Dorada. I also think, by the way, we never really talked about this. Big improvement not having the 2.0 part of the name.
Yeah.
That helps the star power a lot on there. The original, he's off. Fall from grace, like Metalik right now. I don't know what he's going to do next, but it won't be at CMLL the way things are going, whatever it is.
Playing the new FIFA.
That's it. Well, FIFA's dead now. They changed it. It's now FC. But regardless, they had the Mexican Army band come out. Obviously, Independence Day, like doing cool stuff there. It makes sense. The fans always love these. Like they totally love patriotism in Mexico. Like every time, this is like hook, line, and sinker for them.
Oh yeah, I mean it's just like a classic promotional move in Mexico. Yeah. Mexico versus the U.S. Just being pro Mexico. It's just a massive crowd getter.
They were doing this stuff 10 years ago with Mexico versus Puerto Rico when they had like Pure Oath, like be a fake Puerto Rican, even though he's Rush's dad. On there, but like that got super over even then when they were doing all that stuff. So it totally works every time. It's like the U.S. in like 20 years ago. Like that stuff worked big here. I don't know if it does nowadays, but in Mexico it definitely. It's kind of hard, so I like it. But it led to the next match: Angel de Oro and Volador Jr. versus Averno and Ultimo Guerrero. So basically, the way this worked. Whoever won this match would go on to the hair match. Like, the winners would fight each other immediately afterwards. They've done this kind of thing a ton of times in CMLL pretty much. I mean, it was fine. Like, it set up Averno and Ultimo Guerrero. Like, Averno turned on him and cost him the match so they can't have the hair match, and then they brawled afterwards. So, still doing that. I do like that they used this show, this Aniversario. It's like a positive and a negative in some ways, because one of my criticisms was that this also, it kind of felt like a build-up show rather than a major Aniversario show. They used a lot of it. I mean, they set up Mystico and Rocky in the next match, and then you had Uji and Averno in this match, which I like the match, classic rivalry, but you're still building towards bigger stuff later on rather than everything getting blown off here. So it was kind of good and kind of bad, depending on how your outlook, I guess you could say. But the match, it was really just to set up the next match, which I have a lot to say about. But what do you think about the tag and how they set up the brawl with Averno and Guerrero?
And then coming out of this, we're going to get Averno versus Ultimo Guerrero later on. Maybe even we don't get it later on because it could be like another Fuerza and Octagon thing. Where they just keep teasing the match, and as I know it, Averno is not really like in CML like these other guys. He's kind of has like Averno, he just came back from AAA, as everyone knows, and he's not really like a full-time CML guy. I don't think they see him as that. So I don't think they have that confidence in him yet, like they did with Mystico when he came back. They really didn't trust him, and now that he's proven himself, he's being trusted again, and now he's a top guy again. So I think Averno still has that period to go through, and I don't I think that's going to take time with CMLL, as we've seen. Yeah, and the tag match, yeah, it was alright. It was like the other times that we've seen this type of match happen in CMLL. Same type of match. Just got us point A to point B.
Yeah, I totally agree with all of that. I think it's funny that Averno grew his hair out for this. He worked everybody.
I mean, that's what everybody does all the time, yeah.
But I thought for sure he would probably be the one to lose his hair of these.
Yeah.
But they swerved us here. They had other plans with the other two moving on. And it led to, and I thought this match was absolutely fantastic. Like the next match, Volador and Angel de Oro. This to me is one of the best performances of Volador Jr.'s career. He injures his arm early on into this match.
His shoulder.
Yeah, his shoulder. Like, it totally gives out. He's hurt for real. But somehow, he continues on this match. Both of these guys deserve a ton of credit because this somewhat reminded me actually of the G1 semifinals. And if you guys are fans of Japanese wrestling out there, there was a match between Will Ospreay and Naito where Naito got concussed maybe 3/4 of the way through the match, like later in the match. And he was just like a lump. You couldn't do anything with this guy. And Ospreay did his best to make it work, but it was ridiculous watching it. Like a guy who literally can't do anything ending up winning this match, where you had to be guided through every single thing. And here, obviously, it wasn't a concussion, but with the arm, I thought these two did such a better job of making this a realistic win and fighting in, fighting through the pain and all of that stuff coming in there. I thought this was so great. And Volador deserves a ton of credit, but I also think Angel de Oro deserves some good stuff as well. And I loved how there was a part where, after he had his arm get in and the referee was checking on, the doctor was in there, and then they cut to Angel de Oro, and he has this totally cocky dickhead smirk on his face. It was so good. Great Rudo presence from Angel de Oro here. I thought he did good. And everything they did ended up working out as well. They did some stuff with the tape. The doctor was a big part of the match early on to just kind of stall for time. You had the spot where, they had Diablo Roja on the outside with Angel de Oro as well. And they ended up, Volador did Angel de Oro's move, La Mesadora, but he couldn't really do it because his arm was just destroyed at that point. And that led to the ending where he ended up flying off the middle rope and doing this twisting Canadian destroyer for the win. I thought Volador was awesome, and Angel de Oro did a great job to make this work for a match that this should have went off the rails for all intents and purposes. But I thought they ended up making a truly great match. I love this match.
Yes, truly outstanding, fantastic match. It was really a heroic performance from Volador Jr. I think a lot of fans are just going to remember this match, especially if, for what happened. Volador overcoming the odds, real odds, and pulling out the victory. It was really just getting the show just for this match. And if you're hearing this, go find this match and watch it. Really one of the best matches of all year. In a long time, I think, maybe. Just because, it's real consequences because, Volador, if he's legit hurt, he pulls out of the match, he loses his hair. Even if that's not the finish, that has to happen.
Yep.
It's even worse if he was masked, if that's how he loses his mask, that would have been the end of his career pretty much. Volador just pulled through, and I had to rewatch it carefully to see the point where I think this happened for him. And it was when Angel de Oro was, picked him up off the floor, and he just throws him into the barricade. I think that's when, the shoulder thing happened, and, very early in the match too. So from that point on, he had to decide, what was he gonna do? What was wrong with him? Yeah, he's just communicating with the referee. The referee tells the doctor runs out. He checks on him during the match. Angel de Oro, he has to, find ways to make some time figure out what's going on. You know, it all felt very real because it was. You're not going to see this all the time. It's just very rare. You know?
And that's what makes this kind of match special. Any Apuestas match, I've always said that's the main value of it. The stakes aren't for a title like everybody expects in America. And there's a lot of controversy about that with this PWI 500 that came out recently. I don't know if you saw the list or not. But basically, the Mexican luchadors, it was like totally messed up, the list, because they valued the titles more. So like Gran Guerrero was like 100 spots more than any other like luchador in CMLL. It makes no sense because he's the heavyweight champion. It's totally stupid. Like nobody wants to understand that. It's different in Mexico. But the reason for that is that this is real. Like you said, the consequences were real here. It's not a title. If they had to give it up, they would have had to cut his damn hair, and there would have been no way out of it. Pretty much without big consequences for everybody involved. So I thought they just milked the drama so well. Like you said, all of them deserve credit. The referee, the doctor, totally agree on that end. Just a great match. I totally agree with what you said. To me, this is one of the absolute best matches of the year in Mexico or anywhere, in my opinion. This is definitely one of the ones I'll remember the most. It felt like, to me, I mean, we'll move into it, but to me, this was by far the thing I took away from the show most and the best match on the show, in my opinion.
Yeah, to do it, but to do it on this show, I think puts it in another level.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I wish that it had been in the main event, to be honest with you. I think that would have been such a dramatic end to the show to do it this way. But we did get some dramatics in the main event. This is highly rated on Cage Match, too. We were talking about it before the show, wondering why is it that the top two matches are the ones that get the ratings. You could rate the whole show. You know, there's no rules against it. So hopefully the inmates review the other matches, too, and give them some rankings. But regardless, this match has a very high rating. To me, maybe I was just like carried away. Well, what did you think about this match? I'll let you go first. I've talked so much about the other match.
Yeah, we have Dragon Rojo Jr. versus Templario, and this is set in stone pretty much for over a month, I think.
Yeah, it's been a while they've been going at it. They had matches like a few months ago, actually.
Yeah, Dragon Rojo Jr. spent some time out injured. He's always having knee problems, it seems. And I think that's kind of cut his career down short. He started out very promising. The office was behind him very much. He was getting chances with the light heavyweight title and even has wins against foreign talent like Liger and Prince Devitt. He was one of their favorites. He was very marketable. He has a great physique. I think that's, in CMLL, that's like super high value to them because this is a guy that they had big plans for, but those big plans never went through, because of the injuries that he suffered throughout his career. Kind of battled them ever since, and that's led us to this point where he's ready to be done with this wrestling stuff. He has a career in like nutrition. He also does that, so maybe he's not going to wrestle as much and now focus more on that and his family. And Templario, he's a up and coming Rudo. He's been that, and now he's ready for the top guy spot as a Rudo, one of the best guys that they have. See him always working with the technicos that they want to get over. He manages to do that with everyone he does. So I can see this as like you're cementing him as one of the top guys, and hopefully that's what comes out of this. Templario becoming one of the guys that they look up to, count on, to carry on the other side, which would be, Mascara Dorada, the guys coming up now. So I think that's the outcome of this, the match. I wasn't too hot on the match actually, cause Dragon Rojo Jr., just doesn't get me going, doesn't light my fire. Templario, yeah, he tried everything. He did everything he does. And Dragon Rojo Jr., he just, I think, hit his ceiling here. Continually just trying to go, doing that double stomp, trying to win that way. Templario kicking out every time. And eventually he got the win. I wasn't that invested in it. I don't think I don't know, I can't speak for a lot of people on this one, but, I think most people had an idea that Dragon Rojo Jr. was going to lose, even like in the face of this absurd rumor that Templario was going to WWE, and that's why he was losing. So I did not buy that at all. I pretty much knew Dragon Rojo Jr.
They lied about those rumors.
Yeah, Dragon Rojo Jr. is going to drop the mask. I think most people saw that coming. So not as dramatic as the match before, in the slightest, but still good. Still a great way to end the show, I thought. And you have a main man, Templario. He needed a mask.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why I'm okay with it being the main event. From a show standpoint, I think it would have been much, much more satisfying to have the Volador win happen. I think that would have been an amazing ending to the show.
Yeah.
But this actually serves a greater purpose. Like, Templario just, needs it more than Volador does. So I could get down with that. I'm with you on the match. I didn't think this was a great match, to be honest. I'm sorry to the inmates out there. But to me, it's just all of that stuff you said about Templario carrying the Rudo side going forward is not only true, but deserved. Because he is a great wrestler, a great luchador, an amazing performer. But Dragon Rojo, man, I was ready for this. Because remember, earlier in the year, they had that little rivalry with him and Soberano as well.
Yeah, that was the match that was teased last year.
Yeah.
Templario Soberano. They backed out of this to do this one, and this is what you got.
Like I said, it works for the time. Logically, it works. It's just, I just don't see Dragon Rojo as the dude. The main event at the end of the day. And I'm kind of happy that this push is probably going to come to an end. Now, again, nothing personal against him. I feel bad for him because he's had injuries. He's had health problems. He's really had a rough go of things for multiple years now, dating back, 7, 8 years at this point.
Yep.
And so I'm glad for him as a person, that he gets this spot, this major main event, a great payoff probably for the mask. I remember him as a big prospect with Los Guerreros at Matita, what they were doing 15 years ago now. I remember when he came through with that. I thought, hey, this is a good dude, good mid-card guy. Nothing against him personally, fine player, but I just never bought into him as a main eventer. And I think we've had guys like that, people Diablo Roja was in a main event once, and I think that worked out way better than this one did actually, overall. But that's another guy that was around for a million years and wasn't doing anything, but was able to break through finally. And I think that they had hopes for this to be kind of like that. And I think more so this is more like a signal of the end for him. They, like you said, he hit his ceiling. This is all they could do with him. And now he'll just be in the mid-card circuit. I don't think he really means much to the roster, to be honest. I hate to say it. I know it sounds harsh, but we'll see what happens. We'll see how it goes in the future. But until then, Templario, great performer, very good there. And I think they tried to create drama in the match. I just really wasn't buying it. I'm like you too. There was a spot where Templario was going after the ref a little bit early on there. That tried to lead to some near falls there and stuff like that. I don't know, but it was fine. Like I said, it wasn't a bad match. It wasn't bad, but it was more okay. And then they tried to make it a big deal for the package pile driver at the end.
Right,
and,
because Dragon Rojo kicked Chamuel off the apron. So Templario got real mad.
Yeah. That is true. And the ending was legit a moment when he took the mask off and he had the heartfelt promo and all of that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was very well done.
The pain this guy was feeling to take off this mask. So real.
He did a great job. But in the end, they had his family come into the ring. Everybody was in tears. It was a super emotional moment. You won't see this, especially a mask match. You won't see this kind of emotion anywhere else. In the hair match, Angel de Oro was apologizing.
Did Triple Mania have any of this emotion?
No. Not even close.
Were there tears flowing after Sam Adonis got a haircut?
I mean, he said he was the greatest at the end. He didn't even... And even the hair match earlier, Angel de Oro kind of was hey, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to injure him that bad, but let me cut my own hair. hey, Volador, you earned it. You can cut my hair too. It was like a respect thing. It wasn't like he's devastated by it. This was like a devastating moment for Dragon Rojo, the character and the man himself. Anselmo Rivas Castro, 42 years old, 22 years a wrestler from Gomez Palacio. And they ended up both shaking hands at the end. And it was respect at the end, a good moment, and a fantastic ending, even though I didn't love the match. The earlier match made up for it too. And the whole show, to me, I wasn't really in love with a lot of the show, like the middle portion of the show.
Yes.
But I think everything worked. Like how they want, like this accomplished everything it needed to.
Yeah.
And then you had like a legitimate match of the year. And I thought the opener was a great match as well. So you got the new tag titles, you got the great match, and the emotional ending that you can't find in any other promotion. So with those three things and a few average matches, the Mystico match I thought was really well done. But a few average matches in there, a great match and some good moments. I thought this was a really strong show at the end.
Yeah, I agree. And, it has to be the peak moment for CMLL this year.
And they've had a lot of good ones. I mean, the Grand Prix was a
Yeah.
great spectacle. Getting to do the New Japan show for the first time in Mexico was a moment. You had everything going on with Rocky and Volador, at Dos Leyendas. How they worked that, I thought was really well done. So it's been a great year for the company overall, I would say. And they're heading into some good stuff as well with Dia de Muertos, the Women's Grand Prix, as you mentioned. Maybe there'll be a cage match of some sort, and probably multiple tournaments that happen in some form or fashion. But I agree with you. At the end of the day, this is how it should be. Aniversario is their top moment. It's their biggest show. You want to get the fans into it. The crowd was absolutely blasting this show. Like, they loved it. And they hated some portions of it and some people on it. Like, they were totally in it. And I thought everybody worked out really well. Yeah, like you said, top moment of the year for CMLL. Everybody should watch the Volador and Angel de Oro match. And, the emotion of the ending, I think, will get you too. And I would recommend the women's match as well, like, as I said. So that's CMLL Aniversario. With everything set up on the show, do you have any kind of thoughts or maybe predictions about where they could go next? Like, what's the big next match on the pipeline? Like you mentioned, Averno and Uji earlier. Maybe that's something they just tease for a while. They never really get to it. You had the Rocky and Mystico thing. I do think Rocky eventually will have to wrap up his time in CMLL. They'll need him for the American stuff for New Japan. But right now he's having such a good run that I can see why they're extending it longer than anybody thought. Do you have any ideas for who to look out for in the next few months? Where do you think they're going to go? Long story short of it.
For me, it's like impossible to tell because, with Stuka, he lost his mask. That ended up being, the main focus for a while after him and Atlantis Jr. or just him, like, being over as the new Guerrero.
Yeah. And he really improved once he lost his mask, like, as a Rudo.
Yeah. And he's one of the top Rudos now. So
maybe Dragon Rojo could take that.
We don't know. Yeah, Dragon Rojo Jr. Maybe he does the same, or they try at least.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've set up Mystico Rocky. To me, that's just too big of a match not to do.
Yeah. And
especially on a big show. So I think they find a way to extend that. At least to March.
Yeah, totally. I can see that.
If not, later, because yeah. I'll see. I think Rocky's the type of guy that's gonna want that big stage. He's gonna want that match, the Aniversario next year. So I can see that happening, being a support match to the other main event, like they did this year. Yeah, I can see that.
What do you think happens on the New Year's show? Like, you think there'll be a big apuestas on there?
I don't think they do. Ultimo Guerrero, Averno on there.
Cage match.
There's always a possibility. We always leave that door open for the cage match, but it's been a while since they had a cage match actually. I don't think they go with the cage match. Yeah, the women's gonna be the next focus. Then after that, it's gonna be Day of the Dead shows. Those are always exciting and fun to watch. After that, they'll do some kind of tournament. Then they do the best of the year in January. Something that's good about CML is that they run the schedule and they have the fans know like what's coming up. They always have something going on every month. There's always a big event. And I see them picking up steam again and setting up their March feud, the March big event, Una de los Leyendas, sometime in January or February, after Fantastica Mania.
I think that they should build an Apuestas match with the women coming out from the Women's Grand Prix. Like, that could be a January 1st big match.
I don't know. I don't know which women you're talking about.
Well, I mean, that's true. I mean, you don't want, maybe they don't want to lose their mask that easy. But I don't
think none of them want to lose their hair, obviously.
Right. Yeah, that's even bigger for the women, yes.
It'd be hard to find someone.
Yeah. I think you should build something with them, though. I think you've got a great opportunity after this, in my opinion. So, we'll see how it plays out, but there's a lot of options. Like you said, the schedule's pretty much set in stone. They're always doing their thing there. So it's not going to be something where we have to question when, where, and how and all that. We'll see how it goes. And for next month, like you said, there's going to be some cool stuff coming up in the next little while, with the Grand Prix, the Women's Grand Prix, and the Dia de Muertos shows. We'll figure out how we do our schedule with that, but we will be back to do a show on both of those things, one way or the other. It just maybe split up into two parts. It just depends on the timing and everything. But that said, very happy to do the show with you, Micro. It's so fun to talk about Aniversario, the biggest show of the year in CMLL. And like we said, a great year overall for them. So, with that said, as always, this is your chance. You've got the spotlight now before we get on out of here. Anything you want to say, now is your time.
Just thank everyone for listening. Without listeners, we wouldn't even make a show. And, it was just a pleasure to talk about CMLL and this show.
Absolutely. Let us know what you think, too. Message us both on Twitter, at MicromanFever, at Vivo_0. I love hearing about all of the opinions and thoughts on all of wrestling, but especially Lucha Libre has a place near and dear to my heart for multiple reasons, but especially with what I was talking about before, about just the realism, the drama, and the emotion of it all. You can check us out anywhere, iTunes, Spotify, all that stuff going down. YouTube, we put the shows on there too, so anywhere you want to watch, you have the options, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. But until next time, I cannot wait to talk to you guys again. Thank you guys so much for listening. Until next time, adios.